Hey guys, I'm Nisha, as you can clearly see, and I am joined by CJ, and we're back to talk more about Stranger Things.
Hey guys. Well,
Hey, as you guys may notice, we were joined by Aaron, but he wasn't able to make it for this chat, so you guys are stuck with us. Which honestly, CJ, I have a lot of things to talk about. This, the last, and
it was a lot. It
it was
was
a
a lot.
lot. My feelings.
Yeah.
um, due to the fact that I think now when we're recording this, it's now been 2 weeks since the finale has been out there, so there may be some spoilers. Honestly, I feel like I will say some spoilers for people, so giving people fair warning as we discuss volume 2 of season 4 of Stranger Things. But let's just kick it off with a quick synopsis of the 2 seasons. So as we know, we left off with the team with, I guess, what do we call them, the Hawkins crew, or
Yeah, the I call them the Hawkins crew, yeah.
yeah, the Hawkins crew. Like as everyone knows, like so it ends with them finally realizing who Vecna is, what he's done, and getting a glimpse. Nancy gets a glimpse of the future that he wants to bring to Hawkins, which who leaves everyone just in shell shockness while Steve is just like, let's be logical about this. But nonetheless, everyone is like, well, we have to fight him, we have to kill him, we have to stop him. And at this point, 11 has also gotten the revelation of who Vecna is and who One is. So it's all coming together. So everyone sets out to prepare for the final battle. This leads into some very, I don't know how I would describe how I felt. Like, is it like the penultimate episode? Like all the build up to get to the fight for Vecna. That's like really what the next episode is. And then the last episode is them going in to do battle for real.
Yeah.
How would you say about that, CJ?
I definitely feel like the episode 8 is more or less putting the final pieces into place, and then episode 9 is where it all comes together.
Yes. Yeah, and I think like yeah, they were both like 2 hours long. Or no, episode 8 was like at 90 minutes, and then the final episode was 2 hours, which I did not feel like it was long, like a long watch. So I'm glad they paced it out that way.
Yeah, I definitely feel that way too. It feels, because again, this is really, really big. So those final 2 episodes being as big as they are kind of makes sense. And I think it was structured and paced in a way that you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah. So then I guess let's get into like what were your thoughts going into like where we left off in part 1 and then coming into part 2. What were your thoughts before seeing the 2 episodes about what were you expecting? What were you not expecting?
After seeing the volume 1, I was like, okay, that is a big cliffhanger to leave on with the revelations about Vecna. So I was
Mm-hmm.
expecting everybody to more or less do their part, because again, you had Joyce going to get Hopper in Russia, and then you had Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Stoner Boy Argyle going to try and find 11, and then you had the rest of the Hawkins crew, including Steve, Nancy, Eddie,
Mm-hmm.
and all of them trying to figure out how do we kill Vecna before he unleashes the apocalypse on the world. So I feel like, okay, this is not the first time Stranger Things has done this. It's handled separate storylines in its previous episodes, but
Mm-hmm.
this is the first time where I feel like it mostly connected together. I say mostly because one of these storylines felt really bolted on and doesn't, but I think we'll discuss it later. But yes, I do feel like
Yeah. I'm
everything
curious.
connected together, and there was some epicness and tragicness, and yeah, that's what I was expecting going in, and it didn't disappoint in that regard.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I was just like, there was just a lot of death flags going up in episode 8 where I'm just like, I need you to stop. I need Erica. I need the siblings to not be having, and I need Erica and Lucas not to be bonding and like having this very tender moment together. I need Max and Lucas to not be seeming like they've resolved their relationship and everything's going to be great and they're going to go to the movies afterwards after the battle. I need Steve to not talk and talk about how he wants to have a life with kids and a big family, because I'm just like, these are all death flags and I'm scared and I don't know who's going to die, but we do, like, you just feel it. Like this season wasn't going to leave us without somebody dying. And as much as I didn't want it to be true, my prediction was right about who bit the big one, unfortunately. And again, y'all, spoilers, but RIP Eddie. But what a send off for him. I really feel like his whole character arc coming full circle. I think that was like my favorite thing about his character, even though it's like he feels like he was just like not shoehorned in, but that his character was really meant to be like the scapegoat for the satanic panic. And then like him dealing with his own issues of like, I'm a coward. I'm like, I try to be all this big and everything, but when it comes down to it, I'm a coward, or I'm not trying to live into like my father's shadow. And then we get him becoming the hero at the end.
Yes, I really like that it all came full circle and that he got to play Metallica.
Yes.
As a metalhead, I like heavy, I like rock and stuff, and seeing Master of Puppets being played was some good stuff.
I mean, that and just like the backdrop of it getting played. I'm like, I feel like this had to be so much of the budget. Just watching Eddie
Yeah,
rock out.
they apparently Netflix apparently sank, I think 3 million an episode, and it really shows here in the upside down
Yeah,
scenes. It feels like more like a movie than a TV show.
it does. I definitely feel like the last two episodes I watched a movie, like a two-parter movie, and it feels that way, but it doesn't feel like, I mean, I saw Jurassic World recently and that movie is long. Um, so sitting through that felt like a chore, whereas like the pacing and the storytelling in these last two episodes, they really felt flow together where it feels like you're watching a movie in those last two episodes, but how they pace it out. And I mean, like obviously there you can watch them separately or you can watch or you can binge them both, but I sat there and I'm like, oh, look at that. It's been like 4 hours and I've watched the last two episodes already. And it didn't feel like a chore. So kudos to them for like being able to pace out the story and everything. Cause it's still, like you said, like all these storylines, which I'm interested to hear from you, like which storyline in particular. Cause I don't know, I have my own thoughts with like how we had so many things going on. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I mean, as much as I thought it would, but like it makes sense how they did it getting to the end of this season.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the Hopper plot line, as cool as it was to see fighting demons, was kind of felt tacked on at times, because most of the meat was with Vecna and everybody fighting him and stuff. So it's just like, oh, we have to remind people that Hopper's in Russia and Joyce went there to get him. And yes, it is good to see Hopper and Joyce reuniting, but at the end, yeah.
Yeah, I think after they got to him, I was just like, are you going to get home now? Like, get home, go home already. And I mean, like, I think them stretching out, I understand like getting out of Russia wasn't going to be as easy as getting into Russia. Not that that was easy for Joyce to do in the first place, but it just seemed like, okay, when you're right, because like that was the storyline for me where I'm like, I actually could do less with Joyce and Hopper in Russia right now and get back to 11 and Max and the other kids and knowing like how are they preparing and what are they doing. So like Hopper and Joyce, I love them, but I started to not care about their situation as much in that last episode. So, but it was what it was. They had to touch on the whole Cold War. I'm referencing the wrong war. I don't know. The whole
No, the Cold War did.
Okay.
You're right. It was the Cold War.
Great. Eighth grade history coming through, y'all. But yeah, and I don't know. I think that I could have done less with in the last two episodes after they escaped. I just didn't see the point in them going back as much. But I think they just need to use more of the budget and flesh out that storyline with Hopper. So then, yeah. And then, oh, I will say this one thing that I did not expect, but then like it was later on and I was talking about it with my sister, Papa. And like, I've never liked the character and I did not care for 11 grieving over him. However, I understand why she did and why they had that moment.
It does feel complicated because Brenner was a monster. I'm not going to do that. Like his whole experiments is the reason why Vecna exists. He has a hand in Vecna's creation, and the fact that he was more or less willing to drug 11 and try and force her to do things his way was just so yeah. However, I do feel that the tackles complicated issues. Like back in volume 1, Dear Billy. Yeah. Billy was also not the best, just the absolute worst, but there was Max still had some feelings there, and they dealt with that in a genuine human way. Because sometimes, because yeah, sometimes with family members it's complicated. Sometimes you have a good relationship, sometimes you don't, and it's some things you have to work out. So yeah, I do feel like that tangle thorniness is a great thing, even if I don't like these characters. The bond they had with others, being touched upon is
Yeah, and I will say, like, as much as I did not care for Papa, and I'm like, I know I really feel like a big chunk of Eleven's arc in this season, and like from the beginning of the series, it's Eleven finding out who she is and finding her own autonomy outside of Hopper, outside of Mike. I still hate Mike, but and outside of Papa. And it's like, while all of these male figures have like, I mean, Papa had his own evil agenda and wanted to control her and use her and exploit her for her powers, whereas Hopper wanted to protect her, but controlling her, trying to protect her through controlling her is not truly protecting someone. You're just trying to keep her sheltered from the world that she has to eventually be integrated into. And then Mike just wants to be like, oh, I'll protect you and I'll keep you safe, but also he's putting her on this pedestal and not seeing her as who she is without her powers. So it's like, I like that when we get to 11 in this season is that I think she's found her true autonomy when it comes to like even the doctor, or I can't remember his name at the time right now, but like he's like, she's here standing in front of us telling us like what we need to do and what she's ready to do. She's capable. She's made her own decision, whether you like it or not. And I'm just like, yes, because 11's not given the space to really express that. I'm glad there was someone there to support her in expressing that, because yeah, she's her standing up to Papa and like, you didn't give my mom a choice. You didn't get you like you were the reason. Like, and truly she has to remind, like, I didn't want her to be the one guilty over herself of like how Vecna came to be. She sent him there, but Brenner's experimentation, Brenner's going into like sending kids into the upside down and like doing all this work in some sick way, it was his way of looking for Henry Vecna/1. And it's like, when you really think about it, it's like, you're blaming me for something that I had to protect other kids from, that you created yourself. And like her making that connection, I think was huge for 11's character development. Like, she has to acknowledge that like, I am not solely responsible for this monster.
exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with that. And that she also has a new purpose in protecting her friends. Like, she literally goes back into the upside down to help Max when Max is being tracked down by Vecna. And I really like that because they had a great connection in season 3. So to see Max protecting 11 protecting Max was really great.
Right. And it's just like, I just love Max and 11's like friendship, like Max being the one to kind of like spark the whole, like, what do you want to do? What do you like? Forget about Hopper, forget about Mike. What is it that you want to do? And that's kind of, I feel like that whole exchange is what set 11 down that path of like self-discovery too. So getting to see Max and 11 take on, well, 11 take on Vecna, and Max just trying to survive. I mean, like, I was like, I just need these two to reconnect, please, please. But let's get into some other stuff. So we already talked about our predictions and our reactions to some of the stuff. Was there anything else that you just felt like just caught you completely off guard though in the last two?
What happens with Max? I was more or less going to guess that she was going to go back into the upside down, because even though they had this intricate plan of how they're going to check out Vecna, things happened. I was not expecting her to be where she is at the end of the saga. Thankfully, she's not dead, but yeah, Vecna did have an effect on her, and I'm just gonna be like, how does she come back from that? What happens now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the foreshadowing in season 3, where Luke is like, I need to know if you accept the risk. I was just rewatching it this week. Like, I was watching all straight, like the last 2 seasons. I was just like, oh my God, that's great foreshadowing. But like, he did ask her, like, I need to know if you accept the risk and like what this means. I'm like, Lucas had no idea this is where Max would end up. But like, his whole reasoning and wanting to protect her and like figure and like be there for her is like, he probably in some since knew that like her being in danger, even before Vecna, that this could be a reality, that she could get hurt. And it's like, this is
Me and
Lucas's,
Dustin and Mike and all of them had
yeah,
encountered some scary stuff before, like Demon Gorgon and stuff, so they know what they're talking about. And
right, exactly. And it's just like, it hurts because, you know, like Lucas now blames himself for Max getting like being where she is now. And I just, oh, I mean, I'm glad she's alive. I did not want her to die. Max is one of my favorite characters, but it is very much like, what does season 5 look like for Lucas and Max? And I'm like, I feel selfish because I know they are a small part of the story, but at the same time, I feel like they're very significant to the story. Like, I'm curious of like what this will mean moving forward. I don't, not their relationship, but just like the dynamic in the team. Like Max is out. I feel like Lucas is going to go through this whole blaming himself thing and just like not wanting to fight and being worried. And like you're right, we don't know what Max's fate's gonna be. Um, it could just, if she'll ever recover, but it'll be interesting to see like how they utilize her and Lucas in the next season.
definitely.
Yeah. And I will say what did shock me, and I was kind of waiting for like this with like he's like the secondary antagonist of the season. What Lucas's basketball teammate. I
Jason.
Jason. I was gonna say Jacob. Just give him a random name. Yes, Jason. And like I saw someone post something, or actually no, the actor who plays Lucas actually made an interesting comment about this. It's like comparing Billy to Jason, because I've seen some people's reactions regarding the gun situation. And Lucas, and like the actor makes a really good point. It's just like, here's the thing. Billy actually hated and was racist towards Lucas, whereas Jason thought he was being the hero and was like so in his brain thinking he was doing the right thing and that he was blinded by his own, I guess I don't want to say politics, but it's just like his own belief system. Like he could not believe that Chrissy died the way she died without like it being involved with Satanism, or that Eddie had something to do, or now that Lucas had anything to do with it. And I'm just like, I think that's an interesting point to remember, is just like the two different, like, because yeah, Billy was also the antagonist. And like, while his hatred towards Lucas was fueled by racism, it's also like we have a situation here with Jason where his is really fueled by his lack of understanding and wanting to see anyone else's perspective but his own, which, as we see, is very dangerous. And that's why he ended up where he ended up. But
Because he didn't have the full picture, and yeah, if he had more or less, he didn't have a full picture, and that was more or less dangerous. Because again, he could have talked more to Chrissy and say and learn more about her issues, or instead of blaming Eddie, he could have but
yeah, it's his guilt over like not being able to be there for her that I think really blinds him. And he sees himself as the hero that should have been there to save his girlfriend.
Yeah,
But like,
Jason definitely has a hero complex. Like his
oh,
whole speech in volume 1 was like, oh yeah, he really wanted to be the hero, and he would
mm-hmm.
like one of his football buddies literally threatened to break Erica's arm. Does that sound like something a hero would do?
I was so, that part really irritated me because I'm like, you're going to break a child's arm, an innocent child's arm. And I'm like, I get it's because like y'all are so blinded by everything that's happened and you think like, oh, they're evil. I'm like, this is a child. This is an 11-year-old girl. She has done nothing wrong.
Exactly.
But he is like, y'all are so warped by this satanic panic, which like I think that I do really think that was an interesting element to bring into the season, is like, because like that was a reality, is like there are people who thought that Dungeons and Dragons was satanic and that it was linked in like all these other things, and the news sensationalized it, and we really get to see like this is how people thought, or how some people really thought, like these are witches and murderers. I'm like, all right.
And I really like how that was folded into it, and how that
Mm-hmm.
kind of paralleled the Vecna stuff, because again, they were kind of on the money, but they didn't have the full facts.
Facts. Literally,
Yeah.
like pun intended, facts. Because it, and I will say the one plot hole, and I was thinking about this last night when I was watching the episode over again. I was just like, if they had just taken the police to Eddie's trailer and shown them the portal to the Upside Down, I think they're like, obviously I'm not saying I wanted the season to be cut short by that, but it's the problem. But like, that's the problem in all these Steven Spielberg-ish, I don't know what the class, coming of age,
Spielbergian.
Spielbergian, the kids are the heroes because the adults won't listen. So the kids just think like, well, adults won't ever listen to us, so we need to go ahead and handle this on our own. I just feel like that portal is the that is the evidence you need. That is the truth you need to show them like something darker and deeper and bigger is going on in Hawkins.
Exactly. Exactly. On the one hand, I do see where you're coming from. On the other hand, probably somebody could have seen the portal and think, "Oh, this is proof. He's leaving with Satan or something like that."
Exactly. Exactly.
You do raise a good point, though.
Oh no, but no, you're right. Because if they believe like the satanic panic thing, then like they're totally gonna look like, well, that's a portal to hell, obviously. And Vecna is clearly the devil, which like that would have been an interesting element to bring in, but clearly that would have also derailed the story even deeper to do that. It's just like, y'all, at some point you have to tell people. Like, I think Steve is still the only one who seems to be like, well, none of this is real, right? I'm like, Steve, yes, people are literally having their bodies liquefied. This is real. Whatever Vecna showed Nancy will really happen. So yeah. And then like last thing I will say about like reactions, the fact that everything still comes true in the end, I don't know how to feel about that. After everything they did, it still comes to pass, like the vision that Nancy saw. And I have feelings. I just don't know what those feelings are exactly, besides not disappointment and not like despair. It's, I mean, yeah, despair, because we don't know what is going to happen next.
No, we really don't. And that's kind of freeing, but also kind of terrifying because like anything could happen. Because again, season 5 will be the last season, so who knows what is going to happen when it's all said and done.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I guess now that's a perfect segue for us to talk about like our thoughts on season 5. I mean, like I said, like where we left off, I guess all the massive earthquake or the massive, well, gates, just multiple gates being open in Hawkins. But at the end, everyone's reunited. And unfortunately, we see Will touch his neck, which, yeah, that whenever Will touches his neck or looks off like ominously, I just immediately know, I'm like, oh, this next season is going to be amazing. But oh my God, some like one of the kids are going to die. I don't know which one. I feel confident that one of them may die though.
Yeah, one or possibly some of the main cast members aren't making it out alive. Like I feel. So if you want to go for maximum stuff, it could probably be Steve. Because again, you pointed out whenever somebody raises out their plans for a future post final battle, they usually do not make it out alive.
Yeah, and I feel like that's where we're heading right now. It's like
either Steve or possibly Will, because again, this all started when Will was sucked into the Upside Down, and it's been hinted that Vecna may have his claws in him, so Vecna could probably play off it. Because again, I know I said back in our review of Volume 1 that it feels like the writers have had no idea what to do with Will, but maybe Vecna plays on that. Maybe Vecna says, your friends abandoned you. They don't want you. They don't need you. And that's a great way to play it out. So yeah. And plus Hawkins is now, I'm expecting post-apocalyptic Mad Max vibe to this next season, because again, you have an evil psychic dude and God knows what else is in the Upside Down, because we've seen Demogorgons, we've seen flying bats. I'm pretty sure there's more horrible stuff in there.
I mean, yeah, you got outside of the Demogorgon, you still have like the dog Demogorgon.
Oh yeah,
whatever D'Artagnan species are. You have like all these other monsters. I'm sure there are tons more. And the fact that now we know that they could leak through at any point is terrifying. However, it's like now everyone in the town will know about this. Like, and it's going back to like, are they going to blame 11? Is 11? I mean, the government is still after 11.
And you know this is probably going to draw the government there, so they're probably going to. So you have that wrinkle there. The government is probably going to draw there, think, oh, 11 did this, let's kill her.
Yes, and it's just like she didn't like trying to explain this, trying to give them all the information is probably going to take up at least 2 episodes. It's a lot. It's a lot. But yeah, I feel like the death flags have been flown for multiple characters because we won't know who it will be. But yeah, I could see things ending. I do feel like Will play a very important role in this next season, being that you, like you said, it all started with Will. And now I've just been like rethinking it all over again. I'm just like, what was the purpose in getting Will? But like, oh, he needed a person, needed a body, needed to be able to control someone. It's just like all these little clues. And I'm just like, well, what is it all leading up to? And we're still just left with like, God, we really don't know what's going to happen in season 5, besides lots of carnage, possibly. So yeah, I agree. I could see a Mad Max's kind of like layout for the next season.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be interesting. I don't know. I think they announced it like 2023, so that we won't have to wait long. So
It'll be a shorter wait. And I do know that there is a spin-off in the works. So
yeah, which I'm just like, I'm glad the spinoff doesn't seem to be an 11 prequel series. I think that was something that was rumored previously, which I'm good. I think we've seen enough of 11's past with Brenner, so they can keep that. But interested to see where things will go next, especially with the spinoff series next season. Just I want Max and Lucas to be happy and go back to the theaters and be. I want all the kids to have childhoods again.
yes.
But I will at least say this silver lining: somewhere in another world or in the afterlife, Chrissy and Eddie are together, and hopefully they're together and just happy together. That's all I want. My ship lives. But that's all I have. And I guess, yeah, we can just close out, let the people know where they can find us. CJ, if you want to go first.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter at CJ Writes Things. If you Google my name, you can find my writing on But Why Though, Collider, Slash Film, IGN. I also co-host Into the Spidercast, where my co-host Swara and I talk all things Spidey, and you can find all episodes on the But Why Though website.
Nice. Thank you. And you guys can find me on social media at Nisha Plays. That's NEYSHAPLAYS on Instagram and Twitter mostly. Also, a lot of my writing and reviews for anime and manga are on But Why Though as well. And yeah, I pop on here when there's things that we've all watched and read and enjoyed, and kind of just one of like, I would call this coping after what the last 2 episodes did to us. And I'm coping and unpacking. But yeah, and make sure you guys head over to the But Why Though website, check out the reviews on Stranger Things. And yeah, just follow us on social media too. But this has been another But Why Though reviews, and y'all have a good time. Bye.
Yeah. Bye guys, rock on.